Hey everybody, welcome to the show. As we started a little late here, I apologize. We were little technical difficulties here, but hey, we are back. We are going to be talking with Bryan M. Bowden, and hopefully Thomas Kardos will be able to join us here. But we're going to be talking about CERN, Fermilab, the Hadron Colliders, a high strangeness that's taken place in the Swiss. I mean, Bryan brought the subject up to us on the last show that we did with Tom. He's like, you guys, we got to talk about this, and we're like, absolutely, this would be fantastic. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to be talking about what is going on underground. Is it nefarious? Is it just a bunch of scientists who are having a great time?
Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is right.
Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right. And at this time, let's bring on Bryan M. Bowden. He is, man, where do we even begin with your list of your bio here? I mean, we've got everything from leading cryptozoologist at the Travel Channel, Red Earth Uncovered, founder and director of the New York State UFO Project. You are the host of the Inside the Goblin Universe.
Yep, co-host for that.
Yep, co-host for that. And bowdendigital.com, CEO, founder, author, writer, singer, and songwriter, huh?
Everything in a bag of chips. I always get,
That's right.
Whenever I do something, I put it into the bio, so.
There you go.
And my partner in crime always like, dude, you had another paragraph. I'm like, yep, I did.
Yep.
But he's picking up on my lead, though. He's now, he went from like literally 3 sentences to now a paragraph and a half. So he's understanding that, if you're going to, hey, there he is. Hey, Al. So he's, you got to, if you're going to do something and you want to promote yourself, you throw your credentials in there. It's not really it's not like I've done this or we've done summer stock. It's just, this is what I've done. And there's a reason to it. It shows you a methodology on how I've progressed. That's the only reason why.
Yeah. You pointed out on that show that last one we had on with Tom, that just the things like you guys, there are so many things that we need to talk about this. And we decided to bring it on. First we'll say hi to everybody: Chris, Alfred, Kat, Mark. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We did the promo there badly, as I normally do, but we're going to be talking about Fermilab, CERN. What seems on the surface, I'll just kind of go for the things for most people that don't, because like when you put those things out there, a lot of people are like, okay, they're just smashing particles. They're just doing scientific things. And that is true. I mean, what we've got, we're a lot of these claims, like we'll kind of get into and the stuff that's going on. They're not claiming that there's other stuff going on, that these experiments, other than what they're honestly crashing particles to see what they get. But the thing is too, is there's other stuff, there's other experiments that are going on as well that aren't public knowledge. And that's one of the things that leads to it. And it's anybody that has ever done, any research when somebody doesn't want to talk about something, hide something, it leads to suspicions. Suspicions lead to theories. Theories lead to movements. And before long, you have something that snowballs it. And that's what happens when you have this pattern of secrecy. And so I don't know if I got anything wrong there. I mean, let me know.
No. I think you got to understand that these are all scientists work for universities, which ultimately work for governments. So everything science-based is backed by the government, and probably about 99% of the time. And then you graduate from that, maybe you go to the private sector, but even in the private sector, you're a government contractor. So there's a lot of experiments that take place, and there's a lot of theories that were proposed, like the Higgs-Boson theory, and Einstein has theory. Everybody has some kind of theory based on mathematical calculations saying this should happen if we do this, and there was no way to get that proven at certain points until we started building these. Hey, someone said, hey, we'll smash atoms ourselves and see what we can do with supercomputers and catch that very moment. And they've proved Higgs-Boson, and they're continuing to do other things with it. And there's a lot of, it's a huge area in particle physics and physics alone and quantum physics. And that is the future, in my opinion. That is what's going to take us from where we are right now. Even if we go Mach 10, I'm just throwing those numbers out, that's going to take us past the speed of light. And that's why it's heavily invested in.
Hey, guys.
I was talking to
we got the man on location there, Tom.
There he is. He was like, it's tomorrow.
For some reason, it said Thursday, and then I'm like, well, it's the 29th, and I got confused, and I got with Craig, and then we were going back and forth, and then Ryan just messaged me. It's now. I'm like, oh, shit, and I'm driving, so sorry about that.
No,
I've done plenty of interviews in your position, by the way.
Yeah, no, we're just talking about just kind of going down like how CERN started. I mean, it started out back right after World War II. The United States, we'll go Operation Paperclip. We'll zoom ahead. We're taking off. Scientifically, and we're leaving Europe. Because they're in the process of rebuilding. So we're leaving them in the dust. I mean, they're in. So you get 12 countries that sign on to create CERN, which I'm going to butcher it. It's like, I want to say it's Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. I think it's how you say it. It's how you pronounce it. I think I'm butchering it. But it's the European Council for Nuclear Research. But, so it came out to CERN, even though I think it's currently under another name, but it's still just called CERN. But 1973, they discovered neutral currents in the Gargamel bubble chamber. And that's, the Gargamel's kind of an interesting name for the bubble chamber, anyway. And then, like you mentioned, they discover the W and Z bosons in their experiments. Yep. And then they determine the number of light neutrino families. And then they create, in 1995, they create antihydrogen. And so they're going through these things. They discover, 1999 was discovery of the direct CP violation, which now we're starting to get into the stuff where, in not being a scientist, I'm going to butcher a lot of this stuff, but some of these things that they're creating, the matter is more I think it's more dense. It's either more dense or larger than what is naturally occurring here in our thing. And this is what they started to think was proof that they may have found particles from another universe, another dimension, however you want to, phrase where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so that's where you get, like you said, they discovered in 2012 the Higgs boson particle, which is considered the God particle, what they think is what encompasses the vast, the space. I mean, because if I remember right, I think you can condense the entire Earth into the head of a pin because of all the empty volume, and that's if you make everything dense. And so that's the crazy. And then before I get too remiss, we have to welcome Tom Kardos on from the NCCPP, the North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project. I cannot tell you how many times I said that in the mirror to make sure I got it right.
You got it right, fine.
Yes.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yes.
Guys. I also wanted to make a statement also that they had to run this at, I think it was negative 450 degrees Fahrenheit to get it that cold, to get these particles to do anything, because they would not assimilate in anything hotter or warmer than that climate. So I mean, that's kind of funky that it has to be that cold for these things to actually work the way they want it to work.
Well, what they're trying to do here is to emulate space. That's why it has to be so cold. Space is beyond cold. So they're, you know, they can't. We don't have the ability at this point to bring a huge lab up to space and say, "Hey, smash those atoms." So they create it down here, and there are certain experiments have created energy for like a millisecond. That's that's more and more intense than the sun. You know, and they're really playing around with trying to create some antimatter. So you have matter and antimatter. Antimatter is always that arch enemies, you know, go to in every comic or superhero movie you ever made. But that's also something that's very suspect with some people on the antimatter. You know, because they get into a biblical thing with good and evil, dark and light, and antimatter is darkness, and regular matter is more, you know, towards the, you know, the good side.
True.
Yeah, one of the things too, like we talked about, this isn't just like on the surface where you just walk up, and this is, I want to say, it's 3/4 of a mile down underground.
Yep.
And I'll try to bring up a picture too, for everybody, of the actual complex. You see, because when you think about the super collider, you're thinking, okay, it's one little, you know, it's a loop, but it's just a loop that they're circling around. No, it's a whole network of loops that they send stuff around, and it starts. Each one of these are their own little experiment areas that you have,
right?
And as they do, as they ramp these things up, they get sent to the next one, which gets sent to, you know, gets sent to this, and then they finally do it. And each one of these, I think, at different points, like this Alice, the CMS, these are different collision points where they collide them at different points, and that's where, and I'm about maxed out for my scientific knowledge here. Just go ahead.
Yeah, that's where observations
are. We lost Bryan.
See, that's what happens when we try to talk about stuff we're not supposed to talk about.
Real
people,
stuff.
Yeah. People disappear.
Are we on YouTube or is it streaming through Facebook? Because I wasn't sure which one you're streaming on.
Facebook and YouTube at the same time.
Because I know YouTube just passed a new some kind of thing where they're banning anything that has to do with anti-vax stuff. So I guess we need to not talk about any of that, because your show will probably get shut down. So
yeah, that's
we need to not mention that.
It was funny that just came out
today.
Yeah,
I got it on Telegram. It came on my Telegram feed from all the channels I follow, and it put out a lot of crazy stuff.
Back.
Here he is.
Well, that was.
Sorry about that. Sometimes we get a little stormy here. But what I was saying about the different ellipses.
No.
Yes. Yeah. No.
So yeah, but
what's up? What's up, Viking? I haven't mentioned yet.
But they're building a bigger CERN collider right now as we speak.
Yeah, it's even larger, and that's, you know, it makes you wonder what they're doing. I mean, right now, I think this is probably before, we don't want to bore people too much with the technical side, because I mean, it could just get, you can just get in the weeds. You know, when you start talking about all these particles, people's eyes start rolling in their back of the head, especially if they're not into the science. But the crazy part, and we're going to talk about Fermilab, which is right outside Chicago area in Illinois. It's run by the University of Chicago with the Department of Energy. in conjunction. That one, this one, and then several of the other colliders, they have well known that as they're running some of these experiments, there's weather phenomenon that occurs
Yes.
over
Yes.
these colliders. And so
Not only
what is your guys' theory on what is the cause of that? Do you think it's the experiment itself, or do you think it's the fact, like you said, you're moving, whether, the technical side, I'm going to sound like such a noob, when it comes to, when you're running these different experiments, is it attracting, like, if you're using something negative, it's pulling in something positive. Is it naturally just pulling it because of the experiments, or are the experiments themselves, in itself, the experiment causing it, not just, like a natural reaction to it, but this is actually something caused because of what the experiment is doing?
I think it's actually a combination of both. It's the actual experiment that they're conducting, the particle slamming, and the energy involved in the slamming, and the transistors, capacitors, and everything that they're trying to store. Because you've got to understand, you have to create a massive amount of energy, and it's electromagnetic energy. They may even be pulling some stuff from our stratosphere, like HARP does, using extra power. And I think it's also what they get as a result. Now, these are experiments. This is like a couple of kids in chemistry class, like, well, if we mix ammonia with bleach, what happens? Oh, you create mustard gas, and you're unaware of that at this point. So some of the things that do take place in this, and something that took place recently here, was a massive earthquake, roughly around, I think it was in near Greece, and they are blaming that as a dump from CERN. Well, some people are blaming it. Other people are saying, oh, it's just an earthquake, it's not a fault line. But no, it is, there is a byproduct that takes place when CERN plays around, and all these labs play around. So it's not just the big one, CERN, it was Fermilab, and there's huge amounts of energy that you build up, and then you got to dump it. It's kind of like a television tube. If anybody, before there was LCDs, there were tubes, and these tubes, to run that particle beam in there and the lights and change it up, that stored a lot of energy. And you could go into a junkyard right now and go get a tube that's 70 years old, and you can get killed by touching it because it still's got charge in it. So I think it's both. I think it's what they get, the result they're getting, as well as, the energy they're using.
That makes sense. I mean, if you think about these nuclear plants like Duke Energy in North Carolina, they have all this energy and nuclear chemicals that they're combining to get energy for power for homes and whatever else. And that being said, they have to dump what's the remnants of it, and they dump it as coal ash into these like, I would say, the like pool areas, and just recently people are starting to get like they're losing their vision, they're getting cancer in the areas where they're dumping this coal ash, and Duke's getting up the wazoo with lawsuits. So it makes sense that there's a reaction for all this. No matter
there's a
what.
Carlito, we're going to get there.
Yeah, there's a huge difference in a nuclear reactor. Even though they say it's nuclear energy, I want to say it's more nucleus energy, more so than using radiation and some other products like that. This is a really super duper electromagnetic type of fields we're talking about, like huge high end. You know how they move that train in Japan, that electronic, I forgot what it's called. It's all hovers on a metal, a magnetic surface. It's electromagnetic, and there's no friction on it, so it can go super fast. And I think that's what they're using. But you're right about this. This is the dump from your plant there. Right now we have a big problem for all those green people out there that want those electric cars. What are you going to do with the battery? Because it's more, toxic than Chernobyl at this point. It doesn't go away. So I think I think it's a combination, Tom. I really do think maybe they're playing around with some of that stuff too, and how are they storing it? What's leaking out? Who's taking that home to their kids?
Good
Yeah,
point.
no, I agree. I agree. And that was, and one of the things too, like we get now. I'm bringing them up here right now so everybody can compare when we talk about some of the stuff that's coming up, because we're going to start getting into some of the wild conspiracy type stuff that's going on with these things. And I'm going to bring up, first off, like I said, here is CERN's, couldn't get a real bigger one there. Here's CERN's logo. And one of the theories is that it's a 666. You have a 6, 6, and a 6.
Symbolism. Good symbolism.
And then did you guys, when you were doing your research, did you look at Fermilab's their seal?
I had it at one point, but yeah,
it's right
you
there.
got it up.
Yep, that's their seal.
Where is it?
And so there is a lot,
it's
and you look at these things, and it's when you start getting here, you're wondering, you start asking, it's like, what does this have to do with particle, collision and stuff? And people are like, oh well, it's just it's a cool design. They went with all this, but when you actually start getting into, especially like Fermilab, and this is one of the ones where, and I'll kind of go picture by picture. I don't know if it's going to be able to, but you can see, like, I'll bring up this one here. Right here. I'm not sure if anybody's able to see this very well, but Angela Gonzalez was the artist, and starting back in the 60s, I think it's 67.
Yeah.
She started doing these pictures and you can see, it symbolism for here, but you go through here and there is a lot of stuff that's just tied into this thing. And the more you look at the pictures, the more that you pull out of them, the more you see. And you start wondering, is it intentional? Is it by design, or is it just something, hey, we just, like I was teased in the thing, here is the sense of humor. I'm just going to do this because people are accusing us of this, so might as well just let them talk.
Taking into consideration it was the 60s when it was done, because that's when Fermilab came into play. They were the first ones to we were the first ones to have one of these things in that Chicago area. And given the fact it was the 60s and knowing a lot of the art that was taking place, and it was kind of like they were trying to find meaning in things, so it'd be a little bit more intensely looked at. I think it was a combination of that, trying to pull some of the old masters' work in, but I also think they were covertly telling you something without getting caught telling you something and trying to make you think. Because I see a lot of symbolism in all this stuff.
Oh yeah, well, it's you were talking about like, when I'll let you kind of get into this, but I'll show you like this one for anybody that can see. You can see, like, this is the next year's image that she did, and here is a boat sailing, and you can just see what looks like a bunch of spheres and waves and constellations. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on here, and it's one of these, what does this have to do with trying to discover, like I said, antimatter, the Higgs boson particle. You look at these, this doesn't have anything to do with that.
That's crazy.
It's interesting, yeah, because when this was being done, when this artist, they were singing and smoking weed and free love and all that stuff, and talking about the age of Aquarius, and they weren't even in the age of Aquarius. We are right now in the age of Aquarius. So it's very interesting that they're doing these designs which are very much like that, where we're supposed to expand and raise our vibration to a different frequency and be able to become more enlightened. That it was done back then, but it's landing now. Really,
the age of enlightenment.
Yeah, it's just for anybody that's, it's having trouble seeing her, they just, all you have to do is just type in Angela Gonzalez, and it's with an S at the end, but then just look up with Fermilab art, and you'll see it just goes through, and there is just everything is just, it's kind of weird. It doesn't have what you would normally, see associated with, something that's just purely science, like we're just here to do scientific experiments. You look, and that's where one of those, when you start doing these pieces, it's like you start thinking, what else is going on here? And that's where some of the things, teleportation, like you had talked about, you've got the other ones where there's also been the rumor that they've been attempting, most people have seen Stranger Things. They're trying to open some sort of port. Yes, they're trying to open some sort of portal that way to get into another area, a portal to hell, Stargate. They've been doing these experiments, and one thing that we'll get to is, and I was really surprised about this, and I don't know if you guys came across this, where a lot of scientists, they actually have a little bit of belief in this theory that nature is actively sabotaging the experiments because they don't want these particles to exist. They're not supposed to exist. So the infamous one was the bird that dropped a piece of bread on the power lines and shorted it out. That these things are causing these ripples that are going through, that not a bird didn't come from the future or from another realm with the sole purpose of sabotaging it, but just nature found a way to stop it.
Just like the rats. The rats were eating the cables as well. So sorry, I'm dark right now. I'm driving. So if you can bear with me for another 10 minutes, I'll be back in my studio and I have my notes. So just wanted to let you know real quick. So
it's witness protection. We're keeping you safe.
Sure. I do believe that nature plays a part in this, and actively is like you're messing around with things you shouldn't. But and I'm sure we're going to get into you put up the CERN logo with the 666, and everybody knows what that is. But there's a lot of individuals that lean towards this is being done so that you can connect to the realm where, I guess, the devil, Satan, is, and it's and the antimatter is what's going to help bring forth the Antichrist. And that is just some of the stuff. It's not me, but it's some of the stuff. And it's very interesting that we have things that are animals, Mother Nature, or maybe something that begins with a G, has an O in it, and ends with a D. That way of interfering or saying, no, you're not playing around with Satan right now. I'm in control. So I think it is a battle, believe it or not. Because when does coincidence move away? What's statistically the probability of a rat gnawing on it, birds, crapping on it, X happening, X? When do we move away from like, oh, it's just a coincidence? It's just probabilities. It's not there.
Yeah, that's just it, and I think that's where here you have scientists who aren't they aren't known for their religious beliefs, being overtly religious, and so when they're like, oh no, this is just nature intervening, that's something. I mean, when you have, and I'm bringing this up, this is one I kind of talked about, the ritualistic here. This is a one where was this just
that's
scientists?
What I sent you?
No, I don't know if you sent this to me or not. It might have been. This is the one where you had the Shiva statue that's at CERN, which in itself is, for anybody that knows Shiva, and Carolyn, I think it's on here, she'd be able to help me with this, make sure I'm correct. But this is the god of destruction.
Yep. And
you have these ones. The official thing was that there was an internal investigation on this, how this is not a sanctioned. And you can see the robed people around here. There's a girl in white in the film. If you watch it, it gets kind of shaky, like, in a way it feels like it was set up, because all of a sudden they go running away and it's leaked. But they're definitely involved in some sort of, either mock or actual ritual.
Well, something very interesting we have where I live, and there's a guy in your chat right now, my partner in crime. We've both experienced what these people are, devil worshippers, and I've seen the ceremony before. Watched it from afar because you're hanging out with your buddies and you're sharing the same park. What you witnessed there was pretty close to what things take place. And I don't think she was in white. I think she was naked, which adds to some of it. But it was a bad video that I thought I sent it to you. No one's debunked that video.
Nope. It's an internal investigation, and that's where, that's where one of those things, they're automatically hiding it, and and then you can kind of go into.
And if I go, I will come back.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
right.
It's one of the other ones, like for a lot of people that haven't watched them before, and I've sent them to a few people. Like I sent it off to Joey Medea to check it out, too. When you see like what else is going on in Switzerland, like the tunnel ceremony.
Yep.
And you start wondering what is going on in this area, because you have it seems to be this theme of this ritualistic ceremonies.
Yeah, but
and it's really
what I said before to you. Yeah, and what I was saying to you before about the fact that I think they're really looking to try to create some antimatter as well, and open up portals and dimensions, and test some of the parallel universe string theory, multi-universe theory. And that's what I think they're doing. And,
Yeah. And this one, and for anybody that's not sure what, I know Kat was just asking, this was a tunnel that they built, that they opened up in Switzerland. This was the ceremony celebrating that. And you can see and this is where, like you were talking about, you have the goat imagery, and you have all of this, and you start asking yourself, like these pictures I'm showing, anybody that watches these, what about this is in any way telling you it's like, hey, we just built a tunnel and we're celebrating the tunnel? I mean, none of it makes sense. The lamb sacrifice. I mean, it's really weird.
Well, it does make sense if you move away from the scientific side of things and you go into the religious aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's you're
oh, see, Facebook does not want this to get out. Yeah, it's one. You'll see these rituals. They had another one too. It was I have to look, see if I can find it here, but there was another one with the same thing. It's these really, really weird rituals that they do, and I'll bring up here, like here's a statue that sits at CERN, and I'll bring that up here on the screen so everybody can see this thing here. But when you ask yourself too, it's why this statue, Shiva statue, why this statue at this facility? I know one theory was that because they're searching for the God particle, they are breaking the particles. Maybe that's why the statue's there, but they're not sure. It's like that's just the question: is why Shiva? Why that statue?
Right. I'm sorry, I'm back. I didn't mean to get broken down or taken out. I'm switching to something that will allow me to actually be here longer. Because I guess my internet's not happy with me at this point. But
I think Facebook's not happy with us talking about this topic.
Well, before I got kicked out, I was gonna say that I've heard something a lot being said, if you did some research in the last, I've been following for longer than that, but their symbolism will be their downfall. I don't know if you've ever heard that statement before. And the individuals in today's world, no matter if they're good or evil or bad, whatever, good or bad, they don't hide the fact they're doing what they're doing anymore. They just do it right in front of your face. And it's almost as if this has to be done, that festival with the goat and this. They're showing you what's taking place. And if nobody objects to it, then your silence is consent in their methodology. And so you just agree to it. And I think that has to do with it, a lot of it. And it's, there's a very interesting group of individuals that are scientists. And like you said in the beginning, they're not really on the religious side. But what if, do you find it odd that one of the organizations connected to CERN is the Vatican? And the Vatican's observatory is named Lucifer?
I know.
Do you have I don't know what else to say. You know what I'm saying?
Of all things, especially like the Vatican, it's like, why would it be, why would you have the acronym Lucifer?
Exactly. It's really, again, I studied probability for a long time. The probability of this, you can't. It's just, when does something that's a coincidence, when does it stop being a coincidence? And when does it start being like, holy crap, these people are actually doing this?
Yeah, that's, a couple of people talked about it. So, we're going to jump right to it just so we can please everybody here, because I know they're waiting patiently. But that's one of the rumors that occurred from one of these experiments is the Mandela effect. And for anybody that doesn't, we kind of touched on it a little bit, and some other people have done some amazing shows on this effect. But I've heard it explained two ways. We slipped into another, dimension, another universe, and it was kind of like a cross thing. Like, people from there came here, people from here went there, and that's why some of us, I liken it to, just when you talk about stuff like the big one, obviously Mandela, all those people that swear they saw and know all these details about the funeral that didn't happen.
Well, it's very interesting because just so you know, CERN started in the 60s, but they really started cranking it up in the mid 90s, and they abruptly stopped around 2008, 2009. That's when they kind of shut the stuff down. And if you go into, that was roughly the same year that a paranormal investigator, and I'm trying to find her name right here because I have my notes too, I had this put away and then my kids started to draw on it. But there was a Fiona Broom, and she coined the phrase because she referenced this false with quotes memory that Nelson Mandela, his death was in 2009, and even though he's actually been reported passing away in December 5th of 2013, but she totally remembers this event. And that's where you get the Mandela effect, because she's the one that coined it. She's a paranormal researcher and investigator. And what they talk about, with the Mandela effect is something called the false memory. Okay? Here's the problem with that. If you took what you said, and I've always contended that when they started playing with this collider, they created a rip in our timeline, our space line, our universe. And you have to understand, parallel universes or multiverses run at the same time. Everything's happened. Right now, this same show is being run in a multitude of universes at the same time. But we're going to go one direction. They may go a different direction. They may be doing something else. And what I contend is that these guys are playing with like fire. They don't know what the heck happens. And when that's why they abruptly stopped the lab, because they realized what was going on. They ripped point A and point B, and point B came back into point A, our timeline. So if you've noticed, and I'll use a great example. I saw Star Wars originally back in the 70s. I saw all those movies. I knew them cold. Geek, okay? Luke, I am your father is exactly what the line is.
Yep.
You ask kids after 2000 and change or now, and they won't say that. It'll be, what is it, Luke? I forgot what it's called. It'll say Luke, instead of it being I'm your father, it's something else. I forgot what the term is. Another great one, and we're talking about the Mandela effect here, is, and I'll tell you, I love my grandmother to death. She was more of a mother to me than my mother. She used to shop for socks and underwear because, I was one of three, and she was always buying us stuff, right? I had Fruit of the Loom underwear. It had a cornucopia in it, without a doubt. But if you look at it now, there's no cornucopia.
And it's never had it.
No, I'm not going to say it's never had it.
According to them, like I said, if you look it up, they're like, it never.
But what you're missing is, here's what's happening right now.
Thursday,
so I remember, I remember cornucopia, but now they said we never had it. But if you take if we're A and B here, and then now you put the piece of B that's left behind with the piece of A that we lost, they're going to say that it never had a cornucopia in it. And they're going to say, we've always had a cornucopia. It's going to be the reverse. Do you understand what I'm saying?
This is like, if somebody looks it up right now, you could go to Fruit of the Loom. There's no cornucopia logo. Yeah, you see this. It's always just been the fruit and stuff. But I remember the cornucopia.
Okay. So but this is what happens. Another great one is the Ford logo. And I'll send you a link to the video. I'm sorry if I forgot to put it out there. There's a guy that found in the Ford logo, in the F in the center is a pigtail. They say it's a pigtail. Looks like a little loop. I never saw that in the Ford logo when I was growing up. It was just an F, F-R-O, it was Ford. There was no pigtail over there. This guy found a truck in a junkyard, 50-something, whatever it was. In the front logo, it had the pigtail. But if you went to the back of the truck, embossed in the bumper was the Ford logo that I remember seeing with no pigtail. So that truck is separated and has both logos on it.
Wow.
But Ford will tell you, no, we've always had the pigtail. It's insane.
Yeah, and that's the Berenstein and Bears. There's that's another famous one. And that was one of the things where just through their experiments, was this intentional? Like I said, Stranger Things, like they were intentionally trying to do this, or was this one of those like unintended consequences from an experiment where it happened and all of a sudden they're just like, oh my God, what have we done?
I think that's that Fermilab being the first one to play around with this stuff and then abruptly shutting it down at that point, just when this was taking off, was a holy, let's regroup here. What's going on? What was the accident? I think they were like, this is bad. This is bad. Like the Philadelphia experiment with people being embedded in metal. And I'm like, we got to fix this. And then someone deeper down, more, I don't want to say evil or whatever, said, no, we got to build a bigger one. Let's see where we go with this. And then other people got involved. They heard what would happen. And I think they just said, we don't care. We're going to do what we want to do for whatever reason. So I think it's a combination of both. And yes, it can be a combination of both. Yeah, people are like, oh my God, it was a simulation. It's a simulation. Like they don't care. Keep doing it. Let's see how far we can get with this.
And then Sarah, what you're saying about what it is on some books, Everybody, some people remember it as the Berenstain, and then there's the Berenstain Bears, where and you have it, and this is where the name's different, where people are like, no, it's this, and then it's like, no, it's, here's the book, it doesn't have this, and you're like, what? I mean, it's just, you remember this, it's just like, you're like, okay, this is crazy.
Well, the reason that you can explain it this way, it's very simple. If you saw Back to the Future, right? You saw the movie Back to the Future. Everybody almost has.
Yep.
When Marty McFly is playing with Chuck Berry's nephew, Marvin Berry, and he's doing, Earth Angel, and he's playing with the picture on his guitar, and his hand's disappearing. That's exactly what's taking place here. He's now straddling two different timelines because certain things have to take place for him to exist. Okay. This is exactly what's taking place, where some people remember one thing and some people remember another thing, and some people remember both. Like I said, I remember the cornucopia, and I just thought they got rid of it because no one knows what the hell a cornucopia is. Except you'll see them during Thanksgiving coming up in about a month and a half. But people like, what's that horn thing? Who has a cornucopia anymore?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That's the 1970s called. They want their centerpiece back, the decoration.
Cornucopia back.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's logical for them to take it off, but if again we took two separate timelines and just mix them back up again, this is where we are. I'll give you a greater example of not like cornucopial logos. Growing up or whatever, we would have these points in time where some pressure would build. People would get angry with each other, right? And then it would have a peak, and then everybody would be back together, and it always ended with like, okay, we're good, let's move back on, and we started going again on the flow. The last 20 plus years, it just seems to be more pressure and more pressure and more pressure. We're not moving back to that. We could all get along. We're all okay. Now it's really a different type of feel. Totally. And I don't think it's because more people went to college or more people are socially conscious. I think something took place.
That slip, something,
yeah.
Something changed. And that's where in a way, I guess it kind of makes sense, because it was that same thing where it just, the Mayan prediction that's why nothing happened. Maybe that's what was predicted. Maybe that's what, the great event was that one, and that's why everything just at that point, everything just feels, there's just that something where a lot of people are just like, there's something off.
Right. And let's say the Mayan event was supposed to happen, but again, like you said, you're coming back. So right now in a parallel universe, in one of the multi-universes, that whole multi-universe just blew up. It doesn't, it's still there, but the Earth is gone. It's just a void. And it exists. That's one of our futures. Because it's hard to wrap your mind around, but and we were not even going to get into dimension, like multiple dimensions, because that'll just people's brains will start melting. But when you have a parallel, multiple universes, again, things that happen here, like on this one, you're doing a podcast. On the other one, you're having a TV show. The next one, you're a movie star. It's just where you are in the universe. Some of them are the same thing. They parallel each other so much, and it's only little nuances is off. Like your hat is not backwards in that one. It's also like red. Yeah, it's like, you just switched out.
And you don't have a beard. You don't have beards either.
You don't have a beard.
No beards, yeah.
And you're married to a supermodel.
I look funny without a beard, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. But what's very interesting though, getting into before we got back at the CERN and what we're talking about with Fermilab and two dimensions and timeline slipping and rejoining improperly, that they were responsible really for developing teleportation technology. So if you think about that concept, let's say they were successful. What if things teleported like in and out from the different universes? And something that's taking place now, I brought this up when you guys were talking about all the cryptids and all this stuff. in the Chicago area right now is massive sightings of winged humanoid beings all over the place. Like they look like Mothman.
Yeah.
So I was contending that, you think about it. If you were in a dark room and all of a sudden you saw a crack develop, you saw a little light coming in, where are you going to go? Well, I'm going to go to that crack, right? I'm like, ooh, I can see something. And you're going to start chipping away at the crack. The crack keeps opening, and then an opening comes, and you can squeeze through, and you say, like, oh, cool, I'm out. I'm thinking these things are coming interdimensionally into our realm. There's still a rip someplace. And that's why they're going back and forth.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's something like that happened where you said, well, maybe they did. Philadelphia experiment showed that they have the ability. I mean, and if anybody knows anything about, or the government and this stuff, they don't take a success and just like, yeah, let's put that away.
Nope.
That suddenly gets, hey, what worked? Let's keep going. And they refined it. And so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it became more and more to where they've got these perfected, and that was something that they did. And because when you told me about that about Fermilab, I was like, I don't have any doubt that was what one of the experiments they're running there.
Oh, I'm sure that, and especially with teleportation, it's a given. We're teleporting things now like Star Trek. We're doing molecules, we're doing metals. So we're at the birth of quantum physics. And there's a guy in the cryptid world named Ron Moorhead who wrote a book called Quantum Bigfoot, which I highly recommend. If you follow that stuff and you really want to dig deep in and get some real answers, quantum physics is going to explain a lot of the strange paranormal stuff that people talk about. Like, we're going to get to a point where we'll be able to go back to some old footage of people out in the woods, like squatching and going looking for Sasquatch or Dogman, and you're going to be able to put a filter on there, a wave filter, and you're going to be like, oh my God, they were standing right in front of us. Yeah, because it's going to unlock that.
This is a little deviation from what we're talking about, but talk about. What I'm getting ready to say is
okay.
We talked about Star Trek. You talked about Star Trek and things that are happening.
Yeah.
Did anybody catch this? This happened a few weeks ago. Transparent aluminum.
Oh yeah.
They actually made it from the Star Trek movie. They actually made the transparent aluminum.
Wow.
That was from that. So this is what you're seeing this guy hold. That is a piece of aluminum.
Damn.
That's what I said. So you have something that is absolutely, amazing, stuff that's coming out. I mean, if they can do that, what else are they doing?
Right. And that's what we have to find out. It's I don't trust the government at all. I find a lot of it interesting, and I'd love to be at that, some of those experiments and see what's coming on and what's going on. But I'm not trusting much of it.
You want to hear something I picked up for Fermilab?
Yes, sir.
My little notes that I did this morning.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, please.
All right. Okay. So this happened October 31st, 2013. Ironic that's Halloween on October 13th. So this report says in 30 plus years, the state of Illinois has not received any report of a coyote attacking a human. However, this month, several employees reported being bitten or scratched by a coyote-like animal on site. Also, neighbors have reported unusual howling sounds coming from the woods at night and a small uptick of missing pets at certain times of the month. So now keep listening because it gets better. Okay, so
Jeez.
All right. So the reports showed that this being was square muzzled, had a square muzzle, howl instead of a yip. It seemed to have rounded ears instead of pointy ears, and out of nowhere, they usually appear when a cloud shifts, revealing a full moon. Let's see what else do we have here. Walking on hind legs, and some seem to be wearing ripped clothing. Does that remind you of anything?
Yeah, it does.
Dog man.
Yep, it does. 100%.
This happened October 2013 in Chicago, right near the Fermilab on site, and it attacked employees and bit them. So proof is right there. That was an easy Google search. I just Googled strange encounters at Fermilab, and that's the first thing that popped up.
I think it's just weird that they brought in, for radiation detector, they brought in bison.
Really?
Yeah, that's what, when you see the seal, that's why they show a picture. One of that's the reason why that's there. But yeah, they brought 5 bison to the site. A bull and 4 cows. An additional 21 were brought in too, but they're there to serve it as alarm. I mean, I'm curious how PETA's not involved in this.
I think they were there for a food source.
They
were there for a food source. They weren't there for alarms. They were food source for these things.
Yeah,
right.
That could be. I mean, it's now it's like you got to have something to eat. It's like now you got one. It's like, what happened? Well, we had a small leak over in that section. We had to take care of it, and we lost one.
Exactly. And
like
just happened to find Bruce Banner's type clothing all ripped to shreds over there next to him. But hey, at least we know that there's no radiation now.
It's the way to normal.
Yeah,
exactly.
How are you?
And that's I know that's one of the best ones. It's like from Star Wars. Yeah, what Han's doing that.
Yeah, it's just it's incredible. But
we got a small leak here. Just give us a second to lock it down. Who is this?
We're gonna have company.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes.
Boring conversation anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, but that's my point. My point is, I think a lot of these beings or these reports that are coming in are valid. They're real, and they're entities that are coming in and out of these dimensions.
Yeah.
Be it walking out or
no, go ahead.
Transporting out. But that's goes again with what we're trying to talk here. Like, are these experiments allowing this to happen? Are they purposely designed to say, let's go interdimensional because we have, we want to talk to whatever being or another, multiverse being to see what's going on there and how far ahead they are at this point. We won't know the truth.
Well, Kat brought it up too, and it's one of my shows. I really hated that it let but Fringe. And that's to where it's one of those, what if that was the plan, where it's kind of like we're having problems here, but if we can open up a gateway, we can see what's going on there, and this that was the original plan, but like I said, things have gone awry, because I've often wondered if it hasn't been some of the stuff we've seen, because Tom, I think we talked about it with the Beast of Bladenborough, where starting in the 40s and 50s, there was this massive explosion of cryptid encounters, where it just all of a sudden everybody's reporting seeing everything from like a dogman type creature to the Jersey Devil to Mothman to, I mean, it just it goes down. I mean, they're everywhere, and then it started slowing down. Well, was that because some of these experiments started being like, holy, shut it down,
Go clean up crew, let's go.
Yeah.
Clean up in aisle 6.
But that's, I think, take in consideration the Philadelphia experiment when that took place. Give it 10 more years. So now you're the 50s, right? Give it 10 more years. They finally figured some things out. Okay, let's build a way we can control it and contain it better. So you build it 24 or 30 feet down below the surface of the earth, and you kind of isolate where it can come out or whatever. They're thinking that. And there's people that are like, I don't want to do this anymore because, we have some freaky stuff taking place. And then there are other people that want to just push the envelope. Let's go. Let's see what we get to it.
Well, I'm sure the ones that didn't want to do it no more probably got forestalled. They got thrown off the top of a building of a mental hospital. But also, did you guys know that the World Wide Web was born at CERN in 1989? That's kind of strange.
Yeah.
I did not know that
Yep.
until I found out today that it was created at CERN to help them develop and communicate with other entities on other sides of like the country to communicate how they were doing their science and research on this.
Yeah, it's like because I was getting confused on that one too. I was couldn't remember because I know DARPA can created one and then CERN created the other. And I was confused on which one. And like now, even my thing is that I'm just trying to remember which one. But one of them created the web, and one created the internet. The actual framework, and then the other one created the web. That's and I can't remember.
It says the web. It says the World Wide Web was CERN 1989. So I'm thinking DARPA did the net.
So DARPA must have created the internet, the actual infrastructure.
Yeah, it was done for scientists and military personnel throughout. Eventually, the world. We had a lot of people overseas.
Intelligence agencies.
Intelligence, and how to communicate pretty quick. I remember my uncle was military and doing science stuff too, and he doesn't talk about any of that stuff. He just doing his thing, but he knew about the web, and I remember him talking about it. And I remember him showing me this 2-inch by 2-inch piece of metal that he got as a keychain that was the first 286 chip. That's like blue. That was when personal computers started becoming in everybody's home.
Wow.
And he was like, look, Intel, and like it was well beyond everybody, where I was. It's like we weren't thinking computers. The only computer I had was a VIC 20. I was able to make words go across the screen in different colors, or do some C work. But you know what? This is what happens.
Yeah, I can't remember the term. It was something like, isn't it whatever we are getting now, which we think is modern technology, is stuff that I want to say government bodies and stuff are already. I want to say it was like 10 years ahead of that.
Wow.
I'd probably say 50, easily
and
50.
That is one of those where the stuff that we can't even think about, they're already using.
Well, I'm gonna go from some research from individuals and friends that I know in the field on the paranormal side of everything, and relating to UFOs. And there's a few people I go to on certain things here, and they all pretty much agree the same thing. We're about 150 years ahead of anybody on this planet.
Damn.
So the technology we think is the coolest thing right now, they had that a long time ago. And because if you look at the timeline, right, when we went from solid state, it's really funny. We go from solid state to this high-tech stuff to go back to some solid state, because solid state is a little bit more, durable. But, we get to a certain point, and the next thing you know, science just shoots up exponentially. Lasers, blue lasers, red lasers, green lasers, home lasers, computing power quadrupling. So if that's what we're using now, because your iPhone or whatever, you could have run all the Apollo missions from that phone, and was playing Words with Friends at the same time. It's like,
man.
Yeah, or like Halo on the iPhone or something like that, and without even batting an eye.
No, what Chaz just said, if we talk about tech, that's what I really want. Where is our replicator? I mean, I don't need it because I'm going to be 500 pounds, because every time I want something, I'm like, computer double-fudged sundae, it's right there. Next thing is like, why are you heavy? I have no idea.
It's gonna be like the movie WALL-E. You're gonna be in a little,
just roll around in our chairs.
You're gonna be in a sleep stasis, and they're gonna feed you through the AI. So it's all good. It's coming. It's on its way.
Rolling around,
just rolling around, and the only thing they do is they zap you through the color change, so your outfit and your cup changes colors, and you just keep rolling around doing your. Yeah,
that's it.
God,
implanted with a chip,
So as we're wrapping it up here, too, what do you guys think is the goal? Because they're getting, like you said, they're building even larger. So, I can't even begin to guess. I'm assuming it's because they're wanting to create a more stable. Because I think The record right now is that I want to say it's anti-hydrogen that they captured that for 15 minutes.
Right.
And we're able to study it, which is amazing. Just the tech that had to go into capturing that.
Oh yeah, and holding it.
Yeah, you're talking about particle going at this, fact at the speed of light, and all of a sudden it's just here it is. You just stop it, and you're able to seal it in this container so you can study it.
To maintain it, to maintain it for 15 minutes is pretty amazing. It's impressive.
I mean, I think the ultimate goal for these scientists is to get answers for themselves, and these hypothetical. Can we travel faster than the speed of light? Can we go cellular? Can we, what's the deal with black holes and wormholes and whatever? That's the scientific side. On the military side is how can we use this to kill other people or protect us from a threat interdimensionally, multi-universe wise or extraterrestrially. So there's a couple different things there. Yeah. How is this benefiting humanity?
I think they're trying to play God. They want to play God, and this is their plan for people to play God. And you said military, but I know in the mission statement, the mission statement of CERN, they don't even want to be involved, having military involvement in this. But they're in the pocket. They're in the pockets anyway under some umbrella corporation. So that's just something for the public to know that they don't want to be affiliated with military. But deep down in the black budget, they're getting their coin. So,
well, yeah, but I like that whole God thing, or maybe it's the reverse of God. Maybe they want a world where they bring in the Prince of Darkness,
Baphomet. Yeah,
and
they worship it in the ritual anyway. The Baphomet. You said the goat, the statue of Shiva, which is the god of destruction.
Yeah, you got those ceremonies all over. Opening up a tunnel. With the goat. As a
sacrificing people, ritualistic. Acts at the statue. So yeah,
I'm I know it's far fetched to believe, and people don't want to believe it, but these individuals today don't have any. They don't even bother about lying. Like hiding up there, covering their thing. They tell you straight up what they're doing. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Everybody's going to be forced into this. They use terms a lot like goat. Tom Brady's the GOAT, right? Why is he the GOAT? Why would we keep using the term GOAT? And what is a GOAT for in case of this type of service? Or it's usually used as a sacrificial item. And the head of a goat is usually on the pentagram. I mean, there's a lot of connections there. I just think you should take in both ends of the spectrum to make your decisions or come to a conclusion.
Yeah, so and that was kind of way I titled that thing. It's like what's going on under there, It's like, are they just Hebrew? But it's one of those. I led that one, and I kind of came up with that. I mean, I'm not sure if somebody else did it. Where it's like when you see this stuff, it creates a suspicion, and then you create, then you come up with these ideas, which turn into your theories, and then every time these things are not responded to, and you're told you're crazy. That's when it becomes those you've morphed to now the conspiracy theory, and then the more that you call people crazy, even though you're like, I'm looking right at it. You've got a celebration where you're walking around like zombies with this goat, and you're doing all these things, and you're telling me that I'm just crazy. I go, now it becomes a movement where people are like, no, there is something going on here, and at that point, there's no getting that back. I mean, now. It doesn't matter how much you want. You've got a group that they're going to believe no matter what you come up that you are doing something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good point.
And that's that's one of the biggest things where it's like a little bit of honesty. I mean, you don't have to tell. It's like we're doing experiments trying to do. You said we're running military experiments. Well, okay, we're like, it's top secret. All right, well, at least we're not sitting here contemplating. It's like you're opening up a portal to hell because you're worshiping Satan. Well, like it makes it look like you're doing.
Right. They could,
and that's
they could say that like, working on teleportation, interstellar travel, and we're trying to figure this out. And people would have been like, oh yeah, they walk away from it. But I think everybody that's in these four boxes, if we were sitting in their cafeteria, one of us would go, hey, what's the pentagram on the wall for?
Yeah.
You know, like, whoa, you guys got to go. You know, like
Yeah.
American Werewolf in London.
Just like, oh, Bob, you're supposed to cover that. Oh, sorry.
Seriously, where do I get one of those red robes? No.
Oh my God. Well, guys, we need to have you. We need to maybe plan one of these coming up here too, and maybe talk DARPA.
DARPA,
Sure.
yeah.
DARPA's crazy.
I'm down with DARPA. Let's set up a date, and I promise my internet will be back online because I don't know if you guys know my fiber optics line got cut. My neighbor got service, and the trenching machine cut my line in between. So it is what it is.
Yeah, my 2 weeks ago when I was on assignment out there on the back patio of a poolside, talking to the Barney and Betty Hill one, that was because when they installed the internet down the street, they plugged our line into the wrong port.
Oh gosh.
So we were down for a week because all they did is they just put us in the wrong port. That was it.
I would have ran to the module and replugged it myself and put it in the right one, but you probably would have.
We didn't even know. We just the whole time they're thinking it was, they're talking about the box, they're doing all the modem, we're doing all this stuff, nothing, and the tech just came. Oh yeah, they just put it in the wrong port. Well, we have internet. I'm like, oh my God.
My lines were cut. You can see it on my security camera footage. The ditch witch going in my yard, and then it's all gone after that.
You just have that no moment as you're watching on the camera. No.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Whatever.
All right, so we got Tom. You can go see him, and I think Brian, you're on. You do a lot with them too, don't you?
Yeah, I like I hang out with these guys and Tom and his North Carolina Cryptid Project, right? Paranormal Project. Al, my partner in crime, is in chat right now, and there's a lot of support. It's like a nice little group there. But when I'm not doing podcasts or getting kicked off of Facebook, I'm trying to start a revolution someplace. No, I'm just, I do my own podcast, and that's it. So, but these guys, Tom's got a great show, and his buddy, Carlito has a good show, and you guys are great.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I was trying to come up with ones to keep everybody interested in the different topics. I mean, because I've had a few people ask, it's like, aren't you guys running out of stuff? I'm like, you have no idea. There is endless things to discuss. I mean, it's just, you get in, but yes, but definitely, everybody's got to check out, Tom, Carlito, over there, North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project. Mm-hmm. They've got their own shows. Those guys. Now, you guys, are you still doing a show together? Are you planning on doing that, or are you guys still kind of doing your own show?
We try to do monthly shows. Sometimes just scheduling doesn't pan out, but we usually try to get at least one show a month together to review things. With Carlito, and I think Al would be a good if you get Al Santoriga on here to do DARPA. He's a knowledgeable gentleman as well. He's got a lot of UFO stuff as well.
Alfred, you got an invitation. I reach out to you.
Go.
Let's see about getting you on for something.
Goomba, too, the Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather.
But everybody, follow him. Follow him, the NCCPP there on Facebook. When I was practicing that, you don't know how many times I said NAACP.
It's all good.
It was just it was so many times. I was just like, no, CCP. I just kept. I practiced. So I mean, it was one of those like acting classes, sitting there practicing in the mirror.
Yeah, I appreciate you working with me tonight, even though my dilemma with dates, scheduling, and times messed me all up. So I'm really sorry about that, because normally I'm very punctual with my timing and schedules and being on time and everything, and tonight with my internet being down, it's really screwed my head up. So.
Oh yeah, no, it was one of those. It worked out good. We just
maybe it was one of those Mandela effects thing getting to my head. Who knows?
Yeah, that was the weird thing when he showed it to. It's like, it's showing me like this weird 1:30 in the morning, and I'm looking right at it. It says 8:30 p.m.
But then it says Thursday also. I'm like, well, that's weird. So
yeah, it was really weird. I'm like, no, I've got a notice saying it's getting ready to go live. I'm like,
yeah.
So, but no, everybody, like I said, check them. Follow them on Facebook. Go friend them there. Keep up with them. They've got a lot of stuff going on. Brian's got his show, Inside the Goblin Universe, ITGU. Go check that out. Is there any other shows that you're part of that you want to plug?
Yeah, I do my own show called Nobo Boomy, which stands for Nobody But Me, and I do a monthly wrap up because with all our organizations. So Al and I do a Bronxville Paranormal Society in cooperation with the New York State UFO Project, in cooperation with the New York State Sasquatch organization, and this other Dogman group. And we do live. We were doing live meetings, but due to COVID, we now do live streams. But yeah, I'm if you have any questions or you want to send hate mail, just hit me up. I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Yeah, definitely, Chassis. Please, everybody, follow, support. It's like YouTube. Go like, subscribe, please. We would love it. Support these guys as well.
Yeah,
that's like I said. That's critical because right now, with everything that's going on, if anybody doesn't know, Facebook does not like to share stuff.
No.
So,
and I just started YouTube as well, so my streaming is on YouTube now. I'm not doing Facebook anymore, so the same name as the Facebook group, North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project. It's on YouTube, so every Saturday we try to do live streams. So that's it. That's all.
Yeah, so go check them out there. Follow, subscribe. Like I said, while you're there, just sneak over to the Three Beards Podcast and click that little subscribe thing. Just go clicky. Just put it on there.
Well, pretty soon it'll be like 5 beards if we do another show. So
I know. We just got to get you to grow one down there.
I can't grow one because then I'll wind up looking like I came from another part of the country where you shouldn't be allowed here unless you're a migrant.
After a while you just let it go. It gets there. People are just like, doesn't it get? No, it's good.
It's hockey season, so mine will be coming back.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. Well, now I just got to get the kilt, and I will have her heart completely.
Maybe November I'll do a no shave November and try to catch up.
That'd be good. That's a reverse.
All right, guys. Well, hey, have a great night. We will be in touch. Like I said, definitely. So there's a tease for everybody. DARPA sounds like a great one to do. So
absolutely.
That's for anybody that doesn't know that there's a lot of crazy stuff. Everything from dead dolphins to whales and everything from their experiments.
Mermaids.
Yep. Mermaids. Yep. That's Austin saying. Hey, we've got Austin's attention now. Mermaids. All right. So, all right, guys, have a great night. We will be in touch.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it. This episode was brought to you by threebeardspodcast.com. Go there to the merch section, purchase anything, something. I don't care what it is. You can just pick something. You can buy a coaster. I don't care. Pick something there. Support us. We appreciate that. Go there. Also, patreon.com. Little as $1 a month, you can adopt one of these beards and make sure we don't look homeless. And keep those things all nice. Keep it stocked with beard oil, and that's important. Go to social medias like we talked about. Subscribe, like, smash, gently touch, caress that subscribe button. I don't care what you do. Just make sure you press it. Do that for us. So everybody, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. We will see you next week for, I hear it's somebody's special day that day, but so we're gonna do something for you, but it's like, hey, it's not for me to brag. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Good night.